We will open the City Commission meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The opening prayer this evening will be by the Reverend J. Byers.
Not sure Reverend is the appropriate phrase. Just pray for a moment. Dear Lord, thank you for the goodness and mercy that we receive every day. We thank you that we have found employment in public service. Come and take center stage in this meeting and grant us the wisdom to make this meeting a productive one. We start with you, we end with you. Thank you for an answered prayer. Amen.
Good job, Jay.
Nice.
Dr. Herford, forward, please. There are classes of men and women and a class of men and women who rise above the common herd and do wonderful things in their communities and the lives of people. One of these gentlemen is here with us this evening, Dr. David Herford. He's been instrumental in the dyslexia, the care and teaching of dyslexia in the children, and he's well known throughout the United States in this area. And we'd like to commend him this evening with a proclamation for his work. Whereas Dr. David Herford is a research scientist and professor of psychology and counseling at Pittsburgh State University and the Center for Research, Evaluation and Awareness of Dyslexia, the Center for Reading, and the Center for the Assessment and Remediation of Reading Difficulties, were founded by Dr. Herford to serve individuals with dyslexia and other reading difficulties. And whereas located on the campus of Pittsburgh State University, the Center for Reading offers evaluation, intervention, and advocacy services to help individuals of all ages become successful readers. And whereas Dr. Herford has created a scientific approach that teaches children to decode what they are reading, and whereas classroom teachers across the country use a curriculum written and published by Dr. Herford to prevent reading failure and to assist students in becoming competent readers. And whereas the City of Pittsburgh appreciates and respects Dr. Herford for his commitment and contribution to prevention and remediation of reading disabilities, now therefore I, Ron Sigley, Mayor of the City of Pittsburgh, Kansas, do hereby proclaim Tuesday, November 8th, 2023 as Dr. David Herford Day, and urge all citizens to express profound gratitude to Dr. Herford for his efforts in helping struggling readers become competent readers. Thank you, sir. We will move on to the consent agenda, and we have item C has been asked to be pulled. We'll vote on item A, B, D, E, G, and E, F, and G.
Move to approve the consent agenda minus C.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda minus C. All in favor, roll call vote.
Brooks?
Yes.
Height?
Yes.
McNeil?
Yes.
Munsell?
Yes.
Sigley?
Yes. Item C wishes to be addressed by Commissioner Munsell.
Could you read it, Doc?
Sure. Approval of ordinance number S1099, amending ordinance number S1089, fixing the salary and compensation of the officers and employees of the City of Pittsburgh, Kansas, and authorization for the mayor to sign the ordinance on behalf of the city.
Kim, I don't have any questions for you. I just want to address the mailer that was sent out to smear me on the last campaign for city commission. For clarification, this mailer stated Chuck Munsell had the opportunity to support Pittsburgh first responders with wage increases and cost of living increases for Pittsburgh police and fire, and voted against this. Really, For those of you who know me or who don't know me, I'm a retired Pittsburgh firefighter / EMT with 25 years service. Do you believe I would wouldn't support a safe Pittsburgh? Do you believe I would ever be against the men and women that put their lives on the line every day for all the citizens in Pittsburgh? Again, I was one of them. One of the persons involved with this mailer has firsthand knowledge that the city of Pittsburgh has only one salary ordinance for all city employees. There's no ordinance for just police, fire, and first responder, as she knows. In this ordinance, there are sections on how raises can be given. Section 3, as everyone knows, if there is something that causes a morale issue with city employees that you do not agree with, then you have to vote against it. This section in the salary ordinance does not mean I'm against raises, only a partial clause of this ordinance. But this group needed to use the safety part as to make an impact. And this had nothing to do with our current city manager or any city managers in the past. This ordinance had been in effect when I was on the commission and before I was on the commission when I was a firefighter. And that clause in this ordinance has raised morale issues over the years, and I'm trying to address them. The city commission approves a budget that includes wages increase for all employees. Some year the budget has included merit and cost of living wage increases, and previous years have only included cost of living. I myself believe there should always be a cost of living. What I do not agree with is a line in section 3 of the salary ordinance that creates this morale issue that I speak of. So when the group says I voted against raises, that is their partial truth to be told. I always say I'm not against raises, only the clause. What do you other commissioners think about? Let's have a discussion on that clause of the ordinance, if you have any input on that.
Sure. I think you and I have had this discussion before. The clause specifically, I think, if you want to share with the group what specific, because section 3 is quite lengthy, what do you object to specifically?
Well, sure, Don, thank you for your question. And the clause that I'm referring to, and like I said, it just gives the city manager the authority to grant raises, which he should have. And in section 3, there's a section in there that I vote against because I feel that creates a morale issue, and I know it does. Because over the years, I've seen this happen when I was working on the fire department. I've had employees call me every year with concerns with this. Employees' salary, this is a section that I have an issue with. Employees' salary and wages may be increased by the city manager at reasonable intervals until the maximum amount is reached and may be allowed and paid from time to time. I don't have an issue with that. I don't have an issue with the city manager being able to do that. That's, ordinance gives him the authority to do it. I just want to address how can we go forward? Is there something we need to change in the wording so we can help employees with morale issues when this happens? Because when this happens, your retirement is based on, and everybody knows this, is based on what you make. On the fire department, your best 3 of your last 5 years. And if you're not able to move across only on certain percentages, well, you see other employees move across their scale faster, then it kind of hurts you what you draw on retirement. So it affects many people in a lot of ways. And that's why I vote against this. I'm not voting against any wage, merit, cost of living increases for any employees. I'm for that. I'm just, how can we fix this? If there any discussion that we can do to help solve the problem?
Well, I asked Darren for some data from last year. So over 2023, there were 129 instances, which probably fall under section 3, where an employee's wage or salary was adjusted, not merit, not cost of living. 63 of those, or 48%, were in firefighters. 18% got an adjustment related to the salary study that we did, and 32 got an adjustment based on a certificate that they worked hard to do. 23% of the 129 were in the police department. 13 of those 30 were a promotion, and 14 were, again, adjustment for a salary study. 10% were in utilities. The rest are just, 1 in facilities maintenance, 2 in IT. So I'm confused how we can show our employees the value that they bring to the job when they either take on additional duties or they get certificates if the city manager, under his legal authority, his obligation, cannot recognize in order to retrain and recruit employees.
Well, Don, if you had paid attention to that part of the ordinance that I'm against, I'm not against, the city manager, I'll read the whole thing. The city manager hereby is empowered to employ qualified persons to fill any department head position at an annual salary of no more than the maximum amount allowed herein, and to employ qualified persons to fill any position other than department head on annual salary or hourly wage at no more than maximum amount. I'm in favor of that. The third part of this section, city manager is further empowered to allow salary incentive payments in addition to base salary amounts contained herein, as authorized by the city commission. As authorized by the city commission, and as you spoke, some of those raises were based on amounts, they were based on fire department, first responder, EMT certificates, I'm all about that. Public works license, operator certificates, I'm all about those. Police education, special assignment duties, provided that such incentive pay do not increase employee pay more than 5% above the maximum amount shown herein. I'm all about that. And once again, I'm all about the city manager's authority. I just know that one section in here, how can we reword that, but that it does create a morale issue. Has any-
Check on which section is that? Specifically, what is it?
What sentence?
What sentence creates the morale issue? I'm just trying to
It
follow.
just, it's employee salaries and wages may be increased by the city manager at regional intervals until maximum amount is reached and may be allowed and paid from time to time. And that has happened, but when employees see those happening and they don't receive those same, raises, that's what creates the morale issue, Stu. Like I said, we budget for raises. Some years we only budget for a merit base, cost of living.
On
But-
one hand, you're saying that the city manager can do this, and on the other hand, with that clause, you're saying that you're opposed to that.
Well, I'm just opposing when it creates a morale issue. How do we
But
fix
when
it?
do you know it's going to create a morale issue, other than when the person comes to you or to me or any one of us and talks about it? Because how are we supposed to know that that's caused a morale issue?
Okay, they call me, they should call all of you if they have the same concern.
I don't think necessarily that the evidence is showing that there's any disproportionate increases going to one or another group of employees that haven't either taken on additional duties, salary adjustment based on our salary study, or they have gotten some kind of certificate.
Okay,
Well,
anybody
according
else?
to what Don said, 63% of it went to fire, 23% went to police. If there's a disparity, that's the disparity.
Okay.
After the last payroll information that we went over last year, there was a lot of, we thought it was even, and then there was some people that were caught, and I know these people that you're talking about, they had to come up and they had to do some tweaking of sorts to
For
it.
the salary study.
Yes.
Yeah, or the wage
So,
study,
but
yeah.
are raises that aren't merit-based, are they budgeted? Is this all in the budget? Or is this unbudgeted? Is it, maybe it's a budgeting issue?
No, it's not a budgeting issue. Every
Okay.
year you pass a $75 million budget like you did this year that shows every position fully funded for the whole year. Just the natural law of people coming and going. We would never make a financial decision that was going to put us out of our budget. So that's never the case. There's always enough money to manage this. The two raises in question, you need to move the compensation study out of the discussion. The compensation study was funded and done under your authority. All of the recommendations were done in 2 phases under your approval. The rest of the raises on the sheet that HR pulled together for Dawn are promotions and people that receive merits and certifications. So I know it's hard to imagine, as we all work, just 300 employees here. People move, people are more aggressive. I mean, we've had some people that have been in the same job class for 20 years here. We've had other people that have moved through 3 job classes in a year and a half because that's just how they're motivated. So if that creates a morale issue, what we did in the pay study to address that is to try to add several levels, specifically in police and fire, but even in utilities and throughout. So people had more opportunities to move through an organization and get an increase due to taking on some more responsibility, and not just get stuck where if you don't want to be police chief and you're a lieutenant, you're kind of just stuck there forever. But there's only so much we can do. People are motivated differently. We have a lot of incentives in there. We've tried to base this on best practices throughout the industry, both private and public sector were in that study. And I'm pretty proud of the track record of that. We don't give out raises willy-nilly. I don't give raises to my friends or my favorite employees. I give raises as we're structured in the budget that you pass, and then we give it to people as they promote or get certifications. And if somebody feels like that they're getting left behind, we've tried to add levels so they could actually continue to move through without feeling like they're just stuck. But there's an incentive for people that want to improve themselves. And, I need directors, and I don't always like to hire directors from outside of the city. It's nice to hire directors from within the city because they already know how the city operates, and it's easier on all of us. So we've got to make a conscious effort to keep the employees we have happy and give them a positive way through there. And promotions and merits is what we came up with, and that's what we've implemented.
Well, I'm glad how you answered that, Darren. I think that's what employees need, how to move across their range, and I'm happy that they
The
have.
pay study was extremely difficult for all of you and us because we had to pay for it and do it, but in the end, it did make the organization a lot friendlier for the employees to maybe have a longer career with the city in. And that was, I think, one of the key objectives.
Well, if everybody's happy with the wording, I will vote to approve this, but before I do, I had to address the negative, false information that was sent out by certain people to smear me was not intended on how I voted on the salary ordinance. I didn't vote against raises for anyone, although that group, not relying on the facts or the truth, whatever reason, they sent this out. And fortunately, people that know me put that aside and voted for me because they know who I am and what I represent. And it's not anything that's not true, as this mailer was sent out specifically to certain individuals to smear me. So I needed to address that. Nothing else to say. If we want to leave it like it is with no wording, I will make a motion to approve. I would, I still have an issue with it. That one section, Tammy, if you would note that in the minutes, because, people seem to think that we need to keep a track on one commissioner voting records. And I'm not concerned with anybody's voting records. I'm just concerned with doing the best job that I know how to do, getting the most information I can get to serve the citizens of Pittsburgh.
I second the motion.
It's been moved and seconded to accept the approval of ordinance number S1099, amending ordinance number S1089. All in favor by roll call?
Brooks?
Yes.
Height?
Yes.
McNabb?
Yes.
Munson?
Yes.
Sigley?
Yes. Moving on, we'll open for public input now.
John Lair, North Joplin Street. Mayor and Commissioners, I would just like to have some explanation as far as why we are not upholding the resolutions and the safety of the city of Pittsburgh. On November 21st, I did call Darren, and he said he would take care of it. There's 4 carts on Grand Street, east of Wesley House, out in the street, which is a safety issue as far as I'm concerned. And I understand if the police officer come by and say, well, you can't touch this stuff, you can't move it because that'd be stealing. Well, who in the hell stole the carts is what I want to know.
Good point.
And I just would like you people to think about it a little bit, because we need to enforce some of these ordinances. Thank you.
Excuse me, John, these were in the street?
Yes, in Grand Street. Took up about 10 foot of Grand Street.
I would think that a police officer would be clever enough to say, we can't have these here, you'll have to move them, and if you don't move them, we'll move them.
Well,
I,
they didn't.
that's not stealing. I seriously doubt that's stealing if you move the things up on the curb or something, or beyond the curb.
You know, John, we had the same type of situation last year, when time changed, gets dark earlier. We had, and you all would recognize the 7 or 8, 9 shopping cart wagon train that were going around. Those shopping carts were parked on the southbound lane of North Walnut. They was there from 11 o'clock to, I got the call about 5 o'clock, 5:30, about the safety issue, just like you're talking. I got a hold of Darren, he got a hold of an employee from the city. They came out, did a great job, got the safety issue taken care of. So, you know, I would just, you know, if you have that happen again, I would definitely make sure you call Darren, and he'd be on top of it.
Well, I did call Darren, and he said he would handle it, and I think he did to a point to where the police officer interfered and said, no, you can't touch this stuff, and I just don't understand that at all. But, you know, the thing about it is, we need to enforce some laws that we're not enforcing. And one of the things is still, you can drive any place in town, and you see cars parked over sidewalks and everything else. Nothing's being done about it. And, you know, this is a great city to live in, but we want to keep it that way too. And, you know, it's a situation that somebody's gonna have to speak up and do something. That's what it is. And I know this happens all over the United States, but look, this is my hometown. I'd like to keep it that way.
Thank you, John.
Thank you, John. Any other public input?
There's a place there on 12th, right off, like if you drive down Michigan.
Excuse me, would you share your name and address,
It's
please?
Gail Best, address 107 West Forest,
Thank you.
okay? When you go down Michigan, you can see this big old lump of stuff. It's a mess, and there's a guy living there. I don't know how many carts, he's got a canvas tent up. It just looks horrible. I mean, it's embarrassing. And he's sleeping there. So where is he going to the bathroom at? There's an ordinance was placed that they weren't to be camping on people's property and putting tents up. And there also is the safety and the issue with him urinating and using the bathroom. That is a health issue. And I believe Cynthia came up and talked to somebody at the city about, because they had moved them. The police had gone over there with, several people had called and complained. And he's still there. His junk is still there. You can still go by there and look and see it. It's embarrassing. And why are they not reinforcing this? These people are walking around all night long. We live down on 4th Street, and they're walking back and forth all night long. We've got security cameras, we got lights goes off all night long, and all you see is somebody walk with a backpack. I've got a mother that lives on 22nd and Grand. We have people knocking. She's got dementia, and people's knocking on her door, and they're homeless. They're people with backpacks. For once, let's think about the elderly, and let's kind of keep them safe. We pay taxes. We own our house. We own our property. We have people walking through our parking, our vacant lot all the time, and we were told, can't do nothing about it. They have to catch them. That's our property. We paid for it, and we paid taxes for it. Why are they not doing what they're supposed to do? Somebody is going to get hurt. Somebody is going to get mad enough. Either it's going to be one of them, or it's going to be a resident that's worked all their life for their stuff to protect it. I mean, you're talking about raises here. Well, if these guys want to get their merits raises, then they need to start protecting. You'd have a lot of people backing you up on that.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Brenda Swearingen, and I live at 1405 North Smelter. And that thing on 12th Street is pathetic. I am so embarrassed. And my mother, Gail's my sister, she's scared. We're scared for her. They are literally knocking on her door. And like she said, she's got dementia, and we've told Mom, keep your door locked, but she trusts everybody. And I've gotten my place broke into. It don't do no good to call the cops because they don't do nothing. And I've gotten, I mean, if you go out on 69, they've got a little tent area that they had. In fact, my son drove by the other day and he says, there's a fire back there. No, that's the homeless tent. Don't worry about it. That's what they're supposed to do. And I mean, I've got rental houses. I am a paying citizen. Both my husbands died and they both worked. And we paid taxes. We don't ask nothing from nobody. And why don't they have to? Why are they peeing in the parks? I can't take my grandkids to the park because one of these kids is going to get hurt. They're going to there's child molesters out there, and there is regular, I know, that's not homeless, that are child molesters. But I'll tell you what, anybody touches my grandkids, they're going to pay for it. But these guys it's awful. It's embarrassing. I thought Tulsa was bad. This place is bad. It's getting worse than Tulsa and Kansas City.
I hope you stick around till the end of the meeting. This is the first time I heard of anything about a 12th Street issue.
Well, we got pictures. We can show you.
Okay, but, all right, but maybe you, Darren, can address some of the issues you brought up.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, any other public input? Okay, seeing none, moving on. Consider the following, resolution number 1273.
I think
What
you
did I
have
do?
one.
Oh, I'm sorry.
My name is Gina
Girl.
Ward. I live at 1017 East 10th Street, and I'm ashamed of my neighborhood. It's a dump. Abandoned homes I've called about 2-3 years now. Every night about 11, 12 o'clock, I can look out my window and see people in the abandoned homes, in my alley. I'd like to be able to take my dogs for a walk, but I've stopped because there's dirty needles laying around and I'm afraid they'll step on it. The house actually that I live in was built for the mayor, I believe, in 1963. The house is 50 years old. And so it was a nice neighborhood at one time, I'm sure. But if you go by there now, you'll see that that's not the case. And it's not safe. I have weapons at every entrance of my house, and I have every intention of using if somebody comes through my door. I got in a fight with a homeless guy on my porch because I wouldn't give him $1. I did call the police about it. They knew about him. Oh yeah, they called him by name. Can't remember what the name is. Oh yeah, we know about him. They didn't do anything. So what are we supposed to do? I mean, is there not money to fix Pittsburgh back up? Do we need to have a bake sale to raise funds to clean up this town? Because it is a disgrace. I don't even want my relatives. I have relatives that would like to come see me that live out of state that have never been here. I made 3 or 4 excuses for them not to come. I didn't want them to see where I live. Thank you.
Any other? Okay. Resolution number 1273, consider adopting resolution number 1273, recognize the importance of SEK recycling and approving funding in an amount of comparable to funding provided by Crawford County, not to exceed $60,000 annually.
Thank you. My name is Denise Fitzpatrick. I'm the chairman of the Sustainability Advisory Committee. The success of the Southeast Kansas Recycling Center is a top priority for the Sustainability Advisory Board. We believe they provide essential services to Pittsburgh and add to the quality of life in our area. During our monthly meetings, we have heard about the large amount of waste materials kept out of our local landfill and about important grants that they have received. But more often, and especially in the past few years, we hear about their struggle to keep afloat financially, literally operating month to month. Too often, they are barely able to make payroll for a small number of very dedicated and probably underpaid employees. At the same time, they carry on. They continue to collect and sort and find markets for hazardous waste materials, electronics, large and bulky items, clothing, metals, aluminum, paper, glass, styrofoam, and of course, way too much plastic. We need to consider the long-term economic and environmental cost if all that waste went to our landfill. Recent studies from the University of Florida have concluded that community recycling provides a return on investment similar to or better than environmentally friendly strategies like transitioning to electric vehicles or purchasing energy from renewable energy sources. The study asserts that even with higher cost, the investment offsets the greenhouse gases emissions from non-recycled waste buried in landfills. And for Pittsburgh's future, the economic impact from new manufacturing jobs that might be developed by technology and science-based research projects using recycling center materials at PSU is really exciting. A spokesman for the National League of Cities wrote, "Waste should not be a burden that cities must manage, but rather a valuable resource to promote local industry, improve sustainability, and develop economies based on products that are intended for reuse." I recently spent a few days in Bartlesville, Oklahoma. I was impressed with the good quality of restaurants, shopping, and lodging they had available. But before leaving, we asked where we could take our recyclables, and the answer was, unfortunately, we don't have any place. Now, maybe Bartlesville does recycle and we just didn't ask the right people, but the point is that comment immediately changed my overall impression of the city to one that was less favorable. We put our recyclables in the car and brought them back home to Pittsburgh. So when our visitors ask whether Pittsburgh recycles, I want us to proudly answer, yes, of course we recycle. Recycling needs to be a public service provided by local governments to their residents, just like providing water, sewer, and roads. The Sustainability Advisory Committee strongly supports an ongoing financial commitment from the City of Pittsburgh to allow our recycling center to move forward with some financial security and plan for new services in the future. For many residents, they would like curbside service. For more than 40 years, recycling has been possible here thanks to some extremely dedicated individuals, a nonprofit organization, donations, and stopgap funding. We believe it is time to give them the financial support they need to continue and to grow this vital service for the residents of Pittsburgh. Thank you for considering this resolution.
Mayor and Commissioners, the resolution in front of you is actually, if you approve it, it allows us to make a commitment to the recycling center in an amount comparable to that whatever the county commission decides to offer. So and if the county commission decides to offer nothing, we would likely follow suit with that as well.
Jay, did you bring this to the county commission?
I did not. I was asked to talk to the county commission about it, and Jeremy did bring it to the county commission, and they were wondering if the city would be willing to match what they were doing, and I told them that I would bring this resolution in front of you.
So we don't know what the county offered?
There's nothing definite that's come from the county yet, but they did indicate that they were going to provide some level of funding for them. And we would do whatever, we would do a comparable amount to whatever they.
So they're waiting on us.
Well, I think we need to know, since it's going to be comparable to contributions made by the county, I'd like to know what the county plans on contributions are.
Well, that was the problem. We've been going back and forth with our conversations to the point where we said, okay, we have some numbers from that the recycling center has put together through their strategic planning process that indicated that if they had about $120,000 a year, they could function fully and with addition to their other operating revenues until they could realize their strategic plan. And at that point, we thought, well, the city would offer up to $60,000 if the county does as well.
That's where we're at. We don't know what the county's gonna offer.
But the most we would contribute would be 60.
That's the most.
Right, so it's,
Under this resolution.
And we would do that whether the county does it or not.
well, the way this,
No,
Not
that's
the way
not how this reads.
resolution is written, not the way
Okay.
this resolution is written.
so,
We would
but
do
I don't
whatever.
want to play chicken with them.
Yeah, why
I
are
mean,
we not on their agenda then?
I
They
think we
were
will.
on the agenda.
I think
Today?
we will be. I think we will be.
Were they today or Friday's agenda?
We had a discussion on it last week, and we decided at that point that the city would put this resolution in front of this commission to kind of stop any kind of scale. We would say, okay, we're willing to do this, let the county make their decision next week.
So $10,000 a month, if it was 5 and 5, in both the county and the city of Pittsburgh. That's what it takes to continue for them to operate.
And yes, to, hopefully, and based on their strategic planning process, they would be able to transition to be fully
Sure.
self-supporting.
And this strategic process just came about? Or did you have a plan before?
Well, Gene Vogler is here. He's the treasurer for the recycling center board, right? He might be able to give you some sense of what their process was.
Hi, Jean.
About a year and a half ago, it became clear that the operations that we had been for several years is not going to be sustainable. The price that we got for the commodities that we sold were going down. And in fact, for the last 10 or 12 years, have been about the same. Obviously, in 10 or 12 years, our expenses to operate have increased. We also have an issue with the total volume of material that we are now handling is less, because 10 or 15 years ago, we were getting a substantial amount of material from commercial and manufacturing businesses that are no longer here. A lot of them were the printing operations that we had here. We don't have it. 10 years ago, we got the majority of our commodity income from paper. We're probably, I don't know exactly, probably getting less than half the tonnage of paper today that we got then. And then the price of the paper is lower than it was then. So last November, a year ago, just a little more than a year ago, we talked to Greenbush, and they gave us a lot of advice on how to organize our business, gave some things that we needed to do to help improve our organization. We implemented that, but it's, bottom line is it's still not going to be enough. Last March, I believe, we visited you guys and showed a 5-year plan for what we thought was going to be reasonable. That plan showed that we were going to lose $65,000 this year. We're going to lose $65,000 this year. But in order to have it that low, we had to forego a planned raise for our employees, and we had to belt tighten as much as we can to get to where we are today. It's clear we cannot operate the way we are today. It's not sustainable. So looking at what Greenbush had, talking to the folks at the small business group at Pitt State, talking to the National Institute for Materials, which is the old Kansas Polymers organization. What can we do? And we've got to think, we think we can do a plan. The plan would be to take materials and upgrade them. Instead of just packaging them and sending them off, that we would process them. We would take plastic, for instance, instead of bundling them, we would run them through a pelletizing operation where that plastic could then hopefully, in fact, be used with industries, local industries that are using that type of plastic. Takes a lot of investment. We will need to be working on grants to try to get equipment to do that. We'll need to be working with the NEMA folks, and I gotta remember what the NEMA is. I did notice we've got Tim Dawson's here with us today, and we're working closely with him on his organization. We hope to be a vital partner with him in processing plastics in the future. We talked about reviewing curbside recycling. What can we do? How can we offer it in a way that is going to be sustainable? We really don't know what that would take. We talked in terms of things we could offer the county. We have possibility of trying to do some remote collections in areas outside of the Pittsburgh area. But they'll all have to be organized, they'll have to be sustainable, and we'll probably need to get grants from the Kansas Department of Environment, which has been very supportive to us. We have received a grant from Pritchard this year for $55,000. Unfortunately, that's dedicated to a piece of equipment that cost over $125,000. So we got that money, it's sitting there, we can't spend it. We don't have the matching money to do it.
So what I hear you saying is that this potential 120,000 between us and the county could provide a little financial stability this year so that you could really look at and invest in your strategic plan,
That's correct.
potentially.
We just think that it will take that to really get us into a stable situation. But I will have to say, we would expect that would need to continue for several years, because those types of plans aren't going to come in a year. They're coming in 2 or 3 or 4 years.
Sure.
I mean, if we were to do curbside recycling, we wouldn't really be in a position to begin it for a year. And then it's probably going to take several years to catch hold and become successful if we do something like that.
Do you receive funding from the county now?
Yes, we receive a lot of.
How much is that?
They are the sole support of the Household Hazardous Waste Program. This year, they will give $40,000 to operate the Household Hazardous Waste Program.
So they would continue to give you that 40,000?
Yes.
And if
Yes,
this is approved, another 60,000?
Well, you know, you probably understand well how governments work. The Household Hazardous Waste Program is actually a county program, because the grant that was received to start it, we could not get. It had to be a government entity in order to get that money. So it's a county program. The county pays us to operate the program. But that's a significant amount for them. That's more than 10% of our budget. I mean, our whole income is based on $240,000 right now.
I understand.
Are there a lot of missed opportunities for grants, being that what you're talking about?
One of the things that Greenbush recommended, and we have implemented, is to have someone on staff whose primary responsibility is fundraising and grants. And we brought somebody on in June to do that. And, you know, again, they don't come soon, but we have We have joined the Community Foundation that had their big giving thing today. We had not been in that before. We joined the Chamber of Commerce to try to get more involved in the community and see what the community needs from us. And this person is involved in that as well. So we have done several things to try to become a little bit more. I'll have to say, I've been with the organization for about 15 years, and it has been difficult for some of us that have been focused on recycling, on processing and whatever, to say that a lot of our job's going to be fundraising. If we're going to be successful, we're going to have to raise money because we cannot do it with the commodity prices that we have now. We have to do services. We have to do services like curbside recycling, like the electronic waste program that we have, which is our program and which does pay for itself, but it only really pays for itself because we require payment. You bring a TV, it's going to cost $10 or $20 to give it to us, for us to dispose of it, because that's what it costs us to dispose of. And we had an opportunity to raise those fees. I mean, 10, 15 years ago when we first started that, TVs were $5. Flat screens were free. Now, TVs can be 20, flat screens are going to be 5 or 10. They've engineered all of the things that were worthwhile in it that you could get when you tear it apart. It used to have gold in it, it used to have silver in it. Well, they got all that stuff out now. It's just, it pays, we cannot give the stuff away anymore. We have to pay people to haul it off.
What about all the white goods? What, all the, like the washers and dryers and things like that? How does that work? Do you
The
make money?
washers and dryers are just a program that we do also make some money on. We take it and we dump them into a 40-yard container and take them down to the steel reclamation people down in Columbus. It's, unfortunately, it cost us $200
Sure.
to haul it down to Columbus. A glass would be another example. We take glass. A lot of recycle people don't take glass. The glass is a loser for us because we'll get a big truckload of glass, 45 tons of glass, and pay somebody to haul it to Kansas City, and it costs $250 to haul it there, and we get $325 for it. So we got $75 to handle.
Just to make a ring.
Just to make.
What about the prices of aluminum and sheet metal, the tonnage wise? Have you shopped around at different yards that pay?
You can.
I know metal goes up and down all the time.
It goes up and down. Every day the price of aluminum changes.
You have the means to stockpile a lot of those bales of aluminum.
And as a matter of fact, with paper, because paper doesn't change every day, but it changes every month. They'll put out what a paper is. And last year, cardboard was down to $40 a ton. The average over the last several years has been about $100 a ton. So we tried to do that.
That kind of stuff you have to store inside too, don't you?
We saved it until April or May, I guess. When it went 40, it got all the way up to 55. But I mean, and
you still have to have it stored inside, that kind of stuff. But the metal and the aluminum is
stored, and at our present time, we don't have the extra money in the bank. I mean, the reason we did it when we did it was because we needed to have the money to continue our operations. Now, today, cardboard's all the way up to $80.
Wow. About need a GoFundMe page then, don't you?
I think the thing that we've become aware of through the committee is that what a service this is, and it's all done by volunteers. When you really listen to all the things they do, I mean, they have some, I don't mean you don't have some employees, but
The board of
is
directors
huge.
are all volunteers.
Yeah.
We have 10 paid employees. We have an operation manager that makes, I think, $15.25. She's running the whole show. And the average for the other 9 people are maybe $10.50 an hour. and they have great benefits. They do get holidays, no sick pay. But we do pay about eight holidays a year.
Well, I don't feel like we should wait on the county to approve this. I think we need to show leadership, and hopefully the county will follow.
I would agree with that.
Do other cities bring, like Arma, Frontenac, or any place like that, do other cities bring stuff to you? Maybe you
No,
could get,
I mean, some of the residents of Frontenac do, and Armand, and, yeah, I mean, we get materials from Fort Scott, we get materials from, Columbus, a lot. We actually have a program with Cherokee County where they put bins out and bring them to us, and we take them and take that material and they take it out. They actually have 2 different trailers that they do, and bring it to us. And, I mean, we charge them, I think, $1,200 a month.
the
to
transporting fees is
do
what gets you.
8 trailer loads of material, and a lot of that's because we have to sort it, because when you put a trailer out and you don't have somebody standing there,
Yep.
then you wind up getting trash.
I have a question just like to have you maybe correct. I'm a little confused on the 120,000, if we were to approve that and the county approves that or more. Is that to just sustain operations for the next, how long? And does that include part of the matching, your 50% on your grant that you said you're not able to?
It could. I mean, you know, the grants, most grants will have a match of some kind. Certainly, the KDHE one will almost always have some
But
kind of
I assume
match.
it's like a $50,000 match that you're not
Yeah.
able to even
Yeah.
accept
Yeah.
that grant or put that grant to use because you don't have the match,
Right.
correct?
Right.
So I just wondered if any part of this money that we're,
It could, but we would hope that we would have a grant, 2 different grants from 2 different places that would take the lion's share, you know, that we might get 50% of this and 50% of that, or 50% and 40%, and then we'd be able to get over the top with the last 10% with this.
Because your match has to buy the equipment,
Yeah.
the piece of equipment. It's
Right,
not, yeah,
right.
yeah, can't be a match for
And,
something
well,
else.
and you have to buy the equipment, and then, you know, you always have installation
Right.
costs and all that.
Well, and to Cheryl's point, on your survey here, you had 421 responses and 89% of them were from Crawford County. So
Correct.
the lion's share are citizens. Crawford County.
and the good news, you want and need our citizens to bring stuff to you and support. I mean, that's what it takes
Exactly, yeah.
to sustain it, so. It's not
You know-
like we're burdening you by bringing you our recyclables. You
No,
want our
no, you know,
recyclables,
that's,
so.
that's what we want to do.
Right.
It's just that some of them, we do make a little money, and some of them it costs for us to process, but we've made the decision so far, that it's worth that to take glass. Because glass is something that's very easy to recycle. It's, you know, glass, aluminum, we actually make money on, but it's very easy to recycle. Some of the plastics are very difficult. That's in fact what the NEMA guys, or Druin, is trying to find better ways to make that easier to recycle and reuse. I know that, I noticed that Tim Dawson, the head of the NEMA, is here because he's supporting us. We're working with them to try to get together. We have, one thing we can do is collect material.
Right.
So when he has a program and he needs a particular type of material, we can hopefully work out, you know, a way to get that to him. And then we hope later to be able to develop ways for us to be reprocessing it, because, you know, I guess and I speak for him, he's wanting to develop a process, but he's not really interested in starting a company up to use that process.
Right.
We're hoping to be that company.
Well, it seems that the time and effort we've spent on Spruce Up Pittsburgh, that it would be counter not to support the recycling center in some way.
Well, you know, we talked a lot about to the county, and they were very receptive, let's say. You know, and we explained and shared the packet. I think it was exactly the same packet that you guys got about what our finances were and what we think it would be, and what we could do. And, you know, we're hopeful, let's say. I'm optimistic.
Well, for me, I would like to hear what the county plans on doing. Even if we decided to do something tonight as the city, that wouldn't be, it has to take both the county and the city for this to happen.
That's correct.
So,
It'll take both the county and the city for this to
I don't
happen.
understand why we would want to move on this till we hear from the county, and don't they have a meeting, it's coming Friday?
Yeah, but they're waiting on us, so are we?
Well,
are
I
we-
don't know, Don.
That's what they
It
said.
takes both of them
Are
for
they?
this to work, and,
Well, I'm comfortable moving
Okay.
ahead.
Well, we have enough money in the bank to make one more payroll.
Yeah,
And we're not gonna meet again until the 19th.
yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, it's pretty, we're in pretty dire straits there. You know, I would, if you were able to go ahead and approve this, then I'm sure that we would be in immediate contact with the county for them to make a decision on what they're gonna do.
Well, I would go ahead and move approval of resolution 1275, and challenge the county to meet us at 60,000.
Second.
Is it 1273?
Yeah, 127.
1273, sorry, amended.
Yeah, second.
Been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 1273. All in favor by saying aye?
Aye.
Aye. Thank
Wonderful.
you, sir.
Thank you very much, we appreciate it.
Real property lease, 101 North Pine Street. Consider staff recommendation to enter into a 12-month real property lease with 100 North Pine LLC for the property located at 101 North Pine Street to serve as the city's public housing authority offices.
Mayor, Commissioners, we are looking to relocate. We have been at our current location for 5 years, up at the Olive Board Center on Broadway, basically Second and Broadway. And we found a standalone opportunity that has a little more space, and it's a little bit more private for assisting our clients. There's a conference room area, kind of a check-in area, plenty of office space and storage, private parking lot. So it's right down the road from here, and we are hoping to get the lease signed so that we can start that lease December 1st and start moving to a new location.
What was your rent at the, where you are now?
Current rent is $2,637.53 a month.
And what's the rent for this
This
new?
base rent is $2,500 at the new place, plus utilities.
Okay.
When you say base rent, next year, if you're there 12 months, does it go up 2%?
It says it can in the lease, but
But it won't?
I don't think so.
Okay, and they're waiving the deposit?
Yes.
At the top of the lease, I was kind of curious, what's up here in the right-hand corner? Lease 101.18. On the very top of the lease. It's got an address there that's different than 100
it.
North Pine LLC. You know why that's there?
I don't.
But
I mean, I know where that address is, so that's why I was curious, because I don't think they're the owner of the building, are they?
Not that one, no. Henry, do you know?
That was just a curiosity question.
That may be a leftover from the Olive Board Foundation.
Okay.
Oh, that would make sense.
That may be what that is.
And then anything that you do to the building, is it their responsibility for major things? The landlord's obligation?
HVAC, roof, parking lot is the landlord's responsibility. And then any improvements we want to make, we can do that on our own.
do you anticipate any?
Yeah, I mean, there's obviously like tech, I mean, we've got to bring
Yeah.
in some, tech and wiring and things like that. And then a little bit of ADA, just so it's a little bit
Okay.
more accessible, but it's a pretty good setup.
So they carry insurance on their building, but you're just carrying liability for whatever you do inside, that type of thing?
Yeah.
Or, I noticed the insurance coverage, what, on page 80?
For contents?
No, well, it's kind of different, I had never seen. commercial general liability insurance with limits, I understand that, but further down, city already carries workers' comp on their employees. It's just a normal insurance coverage?
That's just to give the landlord some,
Yeah.
I guess, confidence or comfort.
But it would be covered under city policy.
That's
Yeah.
correct, yes, it would, you're exactly right.
I'd move to approve.
I second it.
All in favor by saying aye?
Aye.
Thank you.
Aye.
Thank you, Kim.
You bet.
Item C, commission meeting schedule, discussion is needed to determine the preference of the city commission members as to the December city commission meeting schedule.
Mayor and Commissioners, we are proposing to change the meeting from the 12th to the 19th for sake of processing payables. If we hold the meeting November 12th, our opportunity to get all payables entered before year end is cut short. Pushing the meeting to the 19th will allow us to get the majority of invoices posted to our system and approved by commissioners before the end of the year.
Second, or make motion to approve.
I second it.
Been moved and seconded that we, I'm not sure what to say.
Move
Quick
to-
and fast.
Move it to the 19th.
Okay.
Make a motion to move it from the 12th to the 19th.
Okay.
So, did we also talk about reorganization in January, or is that separate?
We also need to cancel the meeting on the day after Christmas, if that's your will.
Oh.
We can't just.
I'll make a
while
motion
we're
to cancel.
canceling and moving meetings, that's probably one we should do.
So.
And you can
she's
do it
at-
all in one
so-
motion, it's just, we need to cover both bases if possible.
One motion can cover the meeting changes?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm sorry, and then your question was?
We talked about moving the reorganization to January since the president won't be here.
Well, since everybody is reelected, congratulations, but that makes it easier to, we don't have a commissioner that's new right now that would have to forego a month of their commission tenure by going in January. So, because Stu has already planned a vacation before we determined that we were actually going to be back online and moving the meeting for bills, he wouldn't be here. And since he may or may not be in the succession plan as president, we thought it would be awkward to do it over the phone. So it seems to be, with your blessing, we could do it in January. Nobody's gonna,
First meeting in January.
I think it's the 9th, maybe, I think it's the
Yeah.
9th.
I believe so.
So the motion would be to move the December
December.
meeting to the 19th.
Right, that, I made that motion.
And can you amend your motion to cancel the one on the 20th?
Oh, okay, so, all right.
Dufer.
You're
Want
not
to
gonna
make a
do-
motion to move the December 12th meeting to the 19th and then cancel the last meeting of the year.
I won't be here on the
Oh, heavens.
19th. So,
Can you be on the
Sue, will you
phone?
be here on the 19th?
No,
I can call in.
oh,
Well, it only takes 3 of us for a quorum, doesn't it?
No,
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yep.
Can you call
yeah, I
in?
can call, I
I
can
can
call.
call in.
Okay.
As long as you both can call in, I mean, we're probably gonna be paying one heck of a lot of bills and not doing much else, because Allison told us we can't spend any money after the 8th, so hopefully we'll be obeying.
here she goes.
Counter that.
Yeah, so with our system and getting email backup and everything, we were kind of down for that month, and now we've had it, and so just getting everything in and making sure it's in and approved by you before year end is the most the best thing to happen, because if we don't, everything is going to get done before December 31st, because it has to be in regardless, and you're going to not see those 2 weeks of bills, and they won't be approved or seen till January. So it'd be better to push it till the 19th, because we're going to have to post all of those bills in December regardless.
So if Doc is gone and Stu is gone, Doc can still be on the phone, or can you run a meeting from being on the phone as long as there's Don, me, and Chuck here?
Yes.
Yeah, so,
Can?
yeah, let's just do it that way.
We just didn't want to swear in Stu.
No,
With him not
we
here.
understand that,
Over the phone.
yeah.
Do we
That'll
need
be
to
in
make?
January.
Oh, if.
But
So
yeah,
is-
excuse me, if, with his blessing, but yeah, you could definitely open the meeting.
So that is
and
confusing,
participate
but
on the
yes,
phone.
as long as Doc can talk on the phone and Don, Chuck, and I are here,
And if it doesn't work, then
Yeah.
as past mayor, you can
Well,
belly up.
I have to, maybe I can jiggle the schedule, my schedule out, we'll see.
So we have a motion on the floor with the December meetings, but in order to, since we need a separate motion to reorganize in January.
I think so. I would-
We have to make an action on that, correct?
You can, I
Can we
don't
do that
know.
on
It's a resolution, you don't have to.
Okay,
Oh, okay, so we just
so as long as everybody is,
agree, I guess.
As long as you guys
so
go with it,
if
we'll-
Okay,
I made a motion and
let's do
I'll
something.
second.
second,
Okay, okay, we're ready for a vote.
So I have a question, so. If you're not gonna be here on the 19th, and Stu's not gonna be here on the 19th, if you're gonna be here by phone, one of us has to be, I don't know, you say chair or run the meeting.
Mayor Pro Tem.
But didn't you just say?
Yeah, I mean, you can run.
There, he can do it from the phone?
Yeah, he can-
Okay.
he
No
can-
all
problem.
right,
Okay,
Okay,
so, is a motion?
yeah, motion second.
Second, okay.
And what's this for?
moving the December meeting.
Okay,
Moving and
do
canceling.
you want me to say it again?
No, I
Okay,
think
I
it's.
will if you want me to.
All in favor of the motion?
Yes.
Say
Yay.
Aye.
Aye, aye. Okay, non-agenda reports and requests?
We already just covered it, but congratulations to everybody on the reelection to the commission. I think this is the first time we've ever had all the incumbents back, so we'll skip the, this is how to be a commissioner, and hope you've all figured it out in your previous terms. But if you need something, make sure you let us know, and congratulations. So I think we had at least four people speak. I mean, if you don't mind, I'd like to address I'd like to address all the comments, but the first thing I want to say is how seriously, whether it's my office, the police department, or the codes enforcement office, or the housing department, or the public works department, who have been responding for the last couple of years, how serious we take this. There's no situation where we ever want anybody to feel in danger or threatened, and we always want to encourage everybody, if they do get to that point, to call the police. I'll just try to go in order. Mr. Lair, obviously talked to you a lot. You got my number. We try to respond. The carts are a challenge because they are mobile. And as we move them off of one property or away from one property, they obviously land on another property. And so we go through a series of chasing them. At times, they leave the road and they end up on private property or in the right-of-way. If they're in the right-of-way, we have some authority there to move them along. If they're on private property, we can either move them along or criminal trespass them if they are, if the property owner is willing. To Ms. Best, and I think Cynthia, is it Cynthia? Yeah, you were in Tammy's office yesterday, so we had about 15 minutes, so I apologize if I'm gonna repeat myself. The guy living in a tent, that individual should be cited when we find tent camping in the city limits. We just recently passed an ordinance. We do cite individuals for that. Unfortunately, the judicial system is not what a lot of us expect. It isn't quick. When you cite somebody, they're issued an NTA, they have to go to court, the judge makes a determination. There's a lot involved in that. It's not a speedy process, but we did respond. We will continue to respond and take the necessary action that we can. We have cited them before. Trespassing is a tough one because we can't trespass you if the property owner doesn't want you trespassed. We have cited that property for blight as well. So when you come across all of it, regardless if it's private property or not, that individual, that can be cited, and we take that very serious in our codes department. But once again, when we cite somebody, they're basically issued an NTA, they go to court, and they go before the judge, and that all
So,
happens.
hey Darren, you might share what NTA is.
A notice to appear in court,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Yeah, if I throw out an acronym, please correct me. It's a notice to appear, so it's basically, I wouldn't say it's a summons sitting next to an attorney, he would call it what it is.
Charging document, yeah.
But it gets them to court in front of a judge to be held accountable for and then obviously the police would be there to defend why they issued that. Ms. Ford, I apologize for the condition of your neighborhood. It's to sit here and give you a bunch of things that we have tried to do as a city is probably a disservice, but it's the option I have. I can tell you with regards to the abandoned houses and structures where people are living, I I would argue we have maybe the most aggressive building demolition program that I've ever been near, and we have just budgeted another $100,000 thanks to the commission in next year's budget to continue it. But once again, it is a due process deal where you have to post it, you have to contact, I mean, it's, somebody owns that property, whether they're alive, dead, or a relative, and we can't just go pushing over buildings without making sure that we don't end up over court. But anytime you contact us and let us know where one of those properties are, I would guess it's probably already posted or on our list, but if it's not, it will be added. We will investigate it, and we will do what we can if it's blighted and unlivable to get it knocked down, because a nice green space next to a house is much better than that in any situation. With regards to we've also initiated a bulky item pickup as far as the neighborhood being trashed. It seems like that's not much, but if you follow it, it's very organized and it makes a big impact. To kind of complement that, the commission has given us approval for neighborhood advisory committees throughout the community, which have just been, I think maybe we've almost closed the application process. We were running out about 12 positions, and I think we were a few short. So if you have any interest in that, please get your name in. But the point of that group is to address the things that you're dealing with on a daily basis. So you can contact our community development department in the city and say, look, this isn't getting done. We do have equipment. We can't help people remove blight from their properties. We will knock down buildings. But the human element in this is confounding. It's, we've got a lot of calls about, I don't like this is blight. If it's a person, whether they're homeless or not, it's not a nuisance ordinance for them to be wandering through the neighborhood. They're still an individual. We've got to treat them like that, and we're going to continue to try to do right by the property owners, but we have to make sure that we're always treating them as humans. And so the last thing I want to say, our officers are not skilled mental health techs. They are not experts in substance abuse. They are simply men and women who enjoy public service and have given most of their time in the last 2 years to dealing with the same individuals that you have a problem with, because unfortunately, we can pick them up, we can cite them, we can arrest them, and probably within a few hours, based on the laws around parole, or excuse me, bonding out, I can't really hold them. And those individuals are usually dealing with a substance abuse problem or a mental illness. And so if we don't find a way through this community to address those two main issues, we can chase those folks out of your neighborhood, and we will gladly do it if we need to, but we understand that they're mobile, they have carts, they have issues, and we can't talk straight to them. We can usually arrest them, and we've got our list of stuff. If it's a nuisance, the code enforcement people are going to address debris and blight. If it's tent camping, trespassing, and theft, the police department are going to respond. But it is just a circle, and it moves very quick, and it's not an excuse, but I want to defend our staff because we talk about this every day, and we get calls every day, and we get hammered to the moon on social media every day. And I'm going to defend them and say they know what they're doing, but it's so hard to deal with the mental health aspect of it. And it's not fair to you that they've landed in your neighborhood. And so the things we can address, we are going to address. And if you walk out of here and you don't have somebody from the city's phone number, then make sure you call tomorrow because the phones are finally working, and ask for mine. But we've got people that have the ability to address a lot of the things, but the human element is a community issue, and we are working with our community partners. But if people think that we are going to round up humans and ship them out of town or worse, the city is not going to have any part of that. It can't be something that we're putting on our agenda. It won't be something that I'll ever put on my agenda. But we will never give up on your neighborhood. We will never give up on your home. And we have programs more and more every year that we're funding to try to address the issues related to this. So I'll shut up. That's a page of notes I took. And I'll listen to any of the commissioners who are hopefully have an understanding of what we're dealing with, because I'm bugging them about it every week when we meet.
Thank you for explaining that, Darren. You did a good job.
Just for the edification, the city has taken down over 60 homes in the last, 2 years? I think 60 abandoned homes, 60 blighted homes, and we're going to take down more of them, but again, like Darren said, we have to go through the process. You know, it takes about 6 months, sometimes a year, to get this taken care of. You have to locate people, you have to get somebody to sign off on it, get a judge to sign off on it in a court. It's just not something that can happen overnight. I wish it could, but it couldn't.
And I've been very patient.
Can you come up to the mic, because nobody's gonna be able to hear you if you don't.
Yeah, and I've been very patient. The house across the alley is a two-story house, and there's blankets hanging out the windows and whatever. It's been empty for like 4 years now. And
Yeah,
now,
but who does it belong to?
You're right.
I don't know. There's not anybody there, except for people that have decided to
Well,
take
could
up
you find
residence.
out?
Well, we.
Codes enforcement,
Codes
the codes enforcement.
Give that address to,
After the meeting, if
yes,
you would, not.
and, yeah, give the address to the city.
You know, across the street going south of me, across the empty lot, in somebody's backyard, for the last, honestly, probably about 25 years, but I'm going to go with 20, there is a semi-trailer that's been abandoned and sits in somebody's backyard. It's rotted into the ground. And I see people at night over by the trailer in the alley.
Is that yard fenced?
Yes. Mhm.
And it's in, yeah.
It's been there for 20-plus years.
I know, and it's on private property, and it's behind a fence, and
Yes.
and there goes the red tape. I mean, it's ridiculous. But no, we'll check, give me that address too, and we'll look into that and see what we can do, because that's still a violation, I'm pretty sure. I would never want to speak to the code as well as our building inspector, but we can look at both of those, and any
Okay.
other ones you have.
I have an abandoned vehicle or camper that's been sitting at a residence for 6 years now. It's rotted to the ground. And the house there is abandoned, and it's been abandoned for some time because I did call, and I think I talked to you about the tree branch that just grew through the porch. It went through the screen, it was going into the house. Great big branch. Somebody did cut that down. But the vehicle is still there, and I do see people in it at night, in the house at night, in the back.
And we need to know that if that's going on.
Yeah.
Because we can respond to that, because I'm assuming the house has no utilities and it's unoccupied.
Yeah,
and
couldn't.
it's illegal to be in that house,
Yeah.
unless you're the property owner, which it sounds like probably isn't the case.
And
I'll get the addresses for you.
I think the point is that the city can't do anything unless they know about it, and so, you know, we do need citizens, if they feel that something of that situation is in place, they need to call the city.
And I have done that.
Yeah, and be reasonable in an expectation for them to respond, I think, because there's only, what, 3, 4 codes people?
I mean, they're pretty good. I'm sorry you didn't get the response you needed, but give me that information and we'll look at it. And a lot of times there already is a case or the property owner just doesn't exist, and then we're really in a pickle because somebody may die and leave their kid in Miami, their house, and
Right.
he gets hit by a bus, and we've got a title search that there's nobody that even owns it. So unless it's falling over, and if there's a vehicle behind a fence, we're probably not gonna go pull it out of there. But if we need to, if it's the police find out people are living in the house, then that kind of moves it to another level completely, so.
The house on 11th Street had signs, and it was boarded up, the front door. It was boarded up. That's been over 2 years ago.
Yeah, some of this title work, it ain't like buying a Big Mac. I mean, you gotta find out who owns it, and then you've gotta give them their time to come in and defend if they wanna clean it or reclaim it or whatever, and a lot of times they'll just say, tear it down and we'll split the cost. But the other part of it is we're trying to manage the 100,000, so we don't just go in and do everything on our dime. The idea is to get the property owner to at least share in part of that, and that's usually done by having them gift us the property when it's down, so we can take control of it. That's what the land bank is, that's how it works, but it's a complicated process.
You know,
Don't
the
give
house
up on us.
that I live in, 1017 East 10th, I inherited that house from my parents. And I'm paying the property tax on it now. But I haven't done that yet because I keep holding on to the money, because every day I look around in my neighborhood and I'm just like, $2,000 for what? If I look that way, is a dump. If I look straight forward, a dump. I just, you know, I feel like I live in a dump. And I don't mind paying my property tax, but it's just disheartening to pay that kind of money and live in that kind of neighborhood. Someday I'd like to sell the home,
Sure.
okay? I'm from Branson, so I'd like to sell the home. There's no way I could sell that house and I would take a beating
Well,
because of the
traditionally,
neighborhood.
traditionally, your city government's gonna take care of the street. And it's probably gonna help you take care of the sidewalk, since we have a program for that. And we're not in the trash business, and we're really not in the landscaping business. So those properties become the responsibility of property owners. What we've found in the last 5 years is we need to come up with more programs and more committees and things to help people establish a presence in their neighborhood. Because one neighbor can't do anything, but 5 or 6 neighbors together
Yeah,
can
absolutely.
really get going. So that's where that committee comes in, and I know that's not a short-term answer, but it's a real solution. I think it's something that can make a real difference, and it'll help us organize the resources we do have on the city side to help you reclaim that part of your neighborhood.
And I would like to be involved in something like that. I didn't know that that was in the works, and that's good to hear. You know, I don't have trash service to my house. I take my trash to the dump once a month. The reason I do that is because the homeless people getting in my trash and stringing it up and down the alley, and I'm going along picking it up, worried about a needle or
Yep.
something. You know, so I quit I can't even have trash service at my house. I had to take it up to the dump and dump it.
So is C-Click Fix another option for reporting as opposed to calling?
There's
Yeah.
numerous, well, it's a lot easier to report today than it was yesterday, because the last 2 months, we haven't had anything because of the cyber attack. But we're back up and running for the most part. C-Click Fix is a great app, but, you know, our phone number is 231-4100 is the quickest way to get it on somebody's to-do list. It's not an insignificant to-do list, but we don't have any staff members that throw away every other page of their to-do list. They take it very serious, and they will get to it. And if you don't get the response you want, when you want it, you can always call and say, look, this isn't going fast enough. But we will take care of the majority of the problems that we have, the funding and the legal ability to take care of.
Well, I do want to say that Chuck, you know, I've talked to him on the phone several times, and he's always called me back. He's always been as helpful as he could within his means.
Sure.
And I appreciate that.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
And like they brought up the C-Click Fix, that's a good way to report stuff. But once again, there's a process. You report it, we send our codes out to the situation. But the process is not immediate, like Darren was saying. It's the process. So people get frustrated when they think the city's not doing anything. They're doing their job. We just have to go through the process. So C-Click Fix, call any of us, and I guarantee you call me, you know I call you back. You know I call the city manager about it. So keep doing that. So.
Okay, well, thank you.
Okay. Any other non-agenda items? I just have, on the mayor's moment, last night I attended the Christmas parade, and I walked up and down the 5 or 6 blocks, 7 blocks on both sides. And not only do we have homes that are blighted, we have storefronts that are blighted, and they're owned by people. And I would like to call on them to either do something about the storefronts, because, you know, they're dumps. All you have to do is look through the window and see that they're dumps. They belong to somebody, or they wouldn't be there, or they'd be sold. So I'd like to call upon the owners who own those things to clean them up and get our downtown area looking better than it is, rather than empty stores full of trash inside that you can see through the windows. Anyway, that's all I have. My venting.
Motion to adjourn?
Second? We need a second. It's been moved and seconded to adjourn. All in favor, say aye. Aye. We are adjourned.